Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Chef United Way video. Absolutely buzzing to say that we have signed a goalkeeper at long last. His name is IVO GRBIĆ, and I've had to write that down exactly how it said so I don't get it wrong. IVO GRBIќ has signed for Sheffield United on a permanent transfer, a 3.5-year transfer from Atletico Madrid for a fee expected to be around 2 to 2.5 million, which for me seems quite a good deal for a 28-year-old goalkeeper, hopefully coming into his prime. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about that. He's joined the goalkeeping ranks alongside Wes Foderingham, Adam Davis, and Jordi Amissa. We're going to look into why we decided to sign him. But before that, I'm going to bring in my mate, Ollie, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat, aren't we, buddy?
Yes, indeed. It's very good news. I've got the same IVO GRBIČ written down to make sure that we get it right throughout the video. But yeah, I am. I've been waiting for this announcement, been waiting for us to confirm that we have got a goalkeeper through the door. I think we've all expected it since the start of January. So today feels like a good day, even if it's a little bit late.
Yeah, definitely. It has been a few days. I'm really happy we've got him over the line eventually, because he was actually on the bench for Atletico Madrid very recently, wasn't he? Because he was saying that in his interview as well. So if those of you that haven't seen the interview he did with the club, I'll go through a few points in a moment. But first and foremost, Ollie, we've signed a goalkeeper for the first time since deadline day, 31st of August, 2021. Quick quiz. Who was that goalkeeper?
Robin Olsen.
Robin Olsen. Anyway, I'm going to try not to liken him to Robin Olsen too much in this video.
Let's not bring the mood down immediately, Nick. I mean, guys, have some positivity.
Anyway, let's talk about the guy that's been between the sticks for the past 2.5 seasons, something like that. He's been very good for us, so let's not forget that. So first and foremost, 2021-22, 36 appearances, 18 clean sheets. That was an incredible season. His first proper season. Robin Olsen was in the net for some of that. Aaron Ramsdale before that. I think it was Michael Verrips in the middle of that as well. It was a crazy old time. That was a lot of goalkeepers in one season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's giving me nightmares. Just the fact that you've brought up some of those names has given me nightmares. But yeah, all due respect, I thought Wes, particularly that first season when he came in, I thought he was outstanding. He did make one of the best saves I've ever seen live in that. I think it was the League Cup against Southampton, against Che Adams. That was unbelievable, and it has stuck in my mind ever since. But he had a really good breakthrough that first season. We needed somebody to step in and step up, and he took the reins for Robin Olsen and was brilliant as we pushed towards the playoffs. Obviously, it didn't quite work out with us just falling at the final hurdle in the playoffs. But no, that first season, I thought he really was excellent and deserves all the credit in the world for how he sort of stepped up in what was a really high-pressure situation at United at that time.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And then the second season, obviously getting promotion with the Blades. I feel like we've played promotion down, because I think that obviously it wasn't the greatest promotion we've ever seen. We probably expected us to be better than what we were in that season. However, I've only ever seen us get promoted to the Premier League 3 times. Paul Heckingbottom being one of those managers, and Wes Foderingham being the goalkeeper in one of those promotions. So at the end of the day, you've got to call these players, I'm not saying legends, but I've got to say he is one of the better goalkeepers we've had in my lifetime. We've had a lot of rubbish. But I think a lot of rubbish has also been said about Wes Foderingham in the last few, I'd say, weeks, possibly months. But last season, 44 games, 17 clean sheets in the Championship. Not quite as good as his breakthrough season for us, if you like. And then this season, 1 clean sheet in 22. It's not been fantastic, but I think what we've got to remember, if this is the last we see of Wes, I'm sure it won't be. If this is the last we see of Wes, we've got to say he's been a very good goalkeeper for United, hasn't he?
Oh, massively. Yeah, you've got to give him lots of credit for what he's done and what he's achieved at Sheffield United. You know, we talk about that promotion last season. I think they got more points than either Warnock's or Wilder's team. Like, it's really underrated how well they did in the Championship last season. And Wes was such a key part of that. And he's given us some fantastic moments. Think about the penalties that he saved. Like, it felt as though whenever there was a penalty against us, I was like, 50-50, he'll save this, to be honest, because he had a fantastic record in some of those games. He stepped up at fantastic moments. There was a save against Blackburn last season, FA Cup quarter-final. You know, we were 2-1 down, a chance fell to Brereton and Diaz, and Wes made a fantastic double save to keep us in that game. If we go to 3-1, we lose. We don't go to Wembley. We don't get those celebrations. Tommy Doyle's world, it doesn't happen. And he made a huge, huge sort of presence and commitment to that game. And so you do have to remember that. It's been a tough season and he hasn't been particularly good the last few weeks. We all know it. Let's not, gloss over it. But he has been great for Sheffield United more generally, and he deserves a lot of respect for everything that he's done for us. And you'll have noticed I was laughing a little bit, Nick, as you did your last little bit. You said, maybe this could be the last we've ever seen of Wes Foderingham. And all that went through my head is, I think he's going to start tomorrow.
Yeah, possibly. However, this is a great segue. You didn't even know this, but I've got some information for you. That IVO GRBIĆ is available for tomorrow.
Ooh.
So he could play in this game. That was a question I was going to ask later on. So thanks for ruining that one, Ollie. But anyway.
Welcome.
No, he can play tomorrow. But like you say, I think there's a good chance that Wes possibly does play in this one, but we'll get there. Let's firstly talk about, is this the end for Wes? And when I say, is this the end for Wes, I mean, obviously, as our league goalkeeper, our goalkeeper that we've got to rely on week in, week out.
Yeah, I think it is. I think this is a signal that we are trying to move on, that we are trying to move forwards as well. Like I say, we've given lots of respect to Wes and he massively deserves that. So nothing that we say from here on in hopefully should be taken as disrespectful, because we certainly don't intend it to be that way. But for the last few weeks, he has cost us. He's cost us points. He's cost us goals. He's cost us games. And that we just can't afford in this position for that to continue. So we've gone out. We've tried to find an upgrade. You know, there's been lots of names, lots of rumours, lots of players that we've been talking about coming in. And it's clear that goalkeeper is the main position that we've targeted this January for an improvement. And that, to me, all signs towards this is the end of Wes's time as Sheffield United's #1 goalkeeper. I think you mentioned just before we came on that his contract is up in the summer. And to be honest, with him no longer being first choice, I wouldn't be shocked to see him leave us in the summer on potentially a free transfer, if not trying to find himself a place to go and be a #1 again.
Ollie, what are you doing to me here? All my information is out of whack now. You've thrown so many things in there. I'm going to be going back and forth. But you are right. You are right. Wes's contract does run out in the summer, but so does Jody Amissa's, and so does Adam Davis. So at this moment in time, if nothing changes, no players sign a contract as in goalkeepers, we have one goalkeeper, and that is IVO GRBIČ, that we've not seen play a game of football yet. So that's a little bit worrying. I can't imagine Jody Amissa won't sign a new contract. I think he is, looking at the size of him, he could be the next IVO GRBIČ, couldn't he, really?
Yeah, entirely. And I think he's the one of those names that you've mentioned who I'd be wanting to tie down first. I think I want to see Amissa start to step forward, maybe be our #2 next season, maybe play in the cups. I think his size, you don't realise how big the lad is. You know, we've seen him play a couple of times and he is absolutely massive. And GRBIČ is the same. And that's the big step up for me, particularly from Wes. Look, GRBIČ isn't a player we've seen loads of. He's played about 100 career games. You know, he's played mainly in Croatia. He's played a little bit outside of Croatia, about 30 games combined in France and in Spain. So, you know, he's not got loads of experience. We've not all seen him play and thought, oh, he's definitely, but he's 6 inches taller than Wes. That is huge. One of the things that Wes gets caught out on fairly frequently is crossing into the box, command of his area. And so much of that comes down to his size. He's just not quite tall enough to really impose himself on the attackers, on his defenders, and really take command of his area. And Amissa, like GRBIĆ, is a player who will develop that. He's big enough to really dominate over the attackers, really control his box. And so they're the two that I do think we'll be looking at for the future and saying, yeah, let's have that number one, number two really big dominant goalkeepers.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not just his height; it's his size as well. Because when you see them, I always say this about on that team photo when Wes is stood next to a Misser. He's not
Yeah.
just that much taller; he's that much wider as well. A
Yeah.
Misser. I'm not fat shaming a Misser here. He's a big, beefy, muscly lad. I'll say muscly because beefy also sounds like I'm
It
fat shaming him
does.
too. Yeah,
None of this has sounded positive, but it's all positive because it's exactly what you want to see. And I think with Amissa and with GRBIČ, we're going to have two players who are really that sort of physically dominant goalkeeper. And I do think that both of them, the feedback from Burton on Amissa, the feedback from Atletico Madrid and other teams about GRBIČ is that they're also athletic. They're not just big, they're reactive. They're more than just big lads. They're big lads with agility who are really good reaction goalkeepers as well. So that does to me feel as though the natural progression for our current goalkeeper situation.
yeah. I'll run through a few of the things that who he is and what we're expecting from Ivo GRBIČ. First and foremost, you've just said 5 foot, 6 foot 5, 5 foot 5. That'd be tiny for a
Jesus.
goalkeeper.
If he's 5'5", send him back.
He's ending by a 6'5". His hands looked massive when he was doing that interview as well. His hands round the microphone, they look huge. Yep. So he's 6'5", 28 years old, as I said in the intro, coming into his prime. You would like to think, but from what you said earlier, Ollie, he's not had as many games of football as we would want recently. He's a Croatian international, 23 caps for the youth team, but only 2 for the full team. He earned his Atletico move by being absolutely fantastic for Lokomotiva. Played 70 times for them with an absolutely fantastic record as well. Great reflexes. Commands his box well, obviously, with it being such a huge goalkeeper, you'd expect that. But a lot of what he does is punch the ball. A lot of what he does is punch it, which I don't always like that, but it is quite a continental thing from the past that keepers come out and punch it. Yeah, I'd like to see him catch it, but we'll see. We don't know. A lot of what we're saying here is just from what we've seen and heard of because I've never seen this goalkeeper play in a game of football before. So we're going off what other people are saying and highlights and things like that. I've never seen a 90-minute match of him in the goal. Apparently, he's also good with his feet. And what I did notice that he's got quite a good speaks quite good English, which is always good for a foreign player coming into the team because it's always quite difficult for players who don't speak the language as well, especially when you're trying to listen to Chris Wilder's Sheffield / whatever accent he's got, because Chris Wilder's got the weirdest Sheffield accent ever. I think he's just been all over the place, so he's got a weird one. But one last thing I want to leave us on for the good points about him is apparently for Atletico last season, he was really, really good in those games that he did play. Obviously, played instead of Jan Oblak. So all of those things sound positive, don't they, Ollie?
Yeah, completely. And I mean, look, we've mentioned him not playing loads of games of football, but let's just be right. Being number 2 to Jan Oblak isn't a bad, you know what I mean? It's not like you're being number 2 to like my dad's mate down the pub on a Sunday. He's second to one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the world. We then talk about him not getting into the Croatia setup. Livakovic showed everything he can do at the World Cup in Qatar a couple of years ago, where it was his heroics that got them into the semi-final. So he's behind 2 outstanding world-class goalkeepers. So there's no shame in being behind them in the pecking order. Everybody who has seen him play says really positive things. I think when he was at Lokomotiva, and this really confused me because I had no idea who Lokomotiva were. I will be honest. I was like, do we just not say Moscow anymore? Is it Lokomotiv Moscow? It's not. It's a team in Croatia, Lokomotiva Zagreb. And his time there was really successful. I think he had something like 5 better than his expected goals conceded, which is an insane rate when you consider where we're at currently. I think Wes is about 4 conceded more than he should have done. And that's, again, that kind of comparison of if he can bring that form and really stand out in that way, it will be massive for United. He really could make a difference. I think what's hard to try and judge is how he's going to settle in immediately. Like you said, he speaks good English, which is great, but he's only been obviously here 12 hours, let's say. For him to play tomorrow, even on Tuesday night, that's a quick turnaround with not much time to get familiar with his defenders, to really start to build his way into this team. I do expect him to play at Palace, but I do think that there's a little bit of a risk there in terms of communication, in terms of building those relationships. I think the punching point is interesting because I've noticed this season, I don't know if you have, Nick, but Wes does punch. Wes doesn't come and catch, he comes and punches.
No.
And I think he gets caught quite a lot on that. We saw it at Villa. I think we had a similar situation against Luton where he was coming out, he's trying to punch, but he doesn't get a good hand on it. And again, it's size. He's not big enough to really come and dominantly punch it away. And so, again, for GRBIČ, with that extra size, his reach will be huge. And with that kind of reach, punching it is so much more effective because he can just dominate everybody else around him. And so I do think that while it is European, I do think it could be seen as a real positive.
Yeah, his hands are that massive as well. He can't really miss the ball, can he?
It's like a cannon.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the problem with Wes is not that he punches the ball, it's that he can't get to that ball because there's that many bodies in front of him and he doesn't have that physical presence to push through them and get that. Like, goalkeepers are so overly protected, other than against West Ham. Goalkeepers are so overprotected that you would think that goalkeepers would have more confidence coming out and trying to deal with a ball than kind of standing back. And I think Wes has done a lot of standing back on his line this season because he's made some mistakes where he's come to try and punch and then he's like, right, I'm not coming out again because I'm going to make a mistake. Yeah, I'd like to see him come out if and when he does start, GRBIČ, come out and take some balls early. Like I say, if he has to punch it, he has to punch it. But as long as he's commanding in his own area, that's all we want. And you did mention about him being number 2 to Jan Oblak. I want to make, it's going to be negative, but I want to make a slight comparison here. Okay. Obviously, there's the Robin Olsen thing. We expected Robin Olsen to be fantastic. Wes came in and saved his skin. There's also, straight away, as soon as I saw this, number 2 at a big, big club, I remember Kiko Casilla coming in at Leeds. And actually, I looked at both of their records, other than ages. Kiko Casilla, similar amount of years at the club, as in for Real Madrid. Obviously, GRBIČ at Atletico Madrid. Kiko Casilla played more games, almost double the games that GRBIČ has played. Kiko Casilla came in at Leeds and was absolutely horrendous, having not played many games at all. So my worry is the lack of game time. He played well in France, apparently with Lille. I'm worried. I'm slightly worried about this signing. I'm going to be honest. Everybody's being really confident about it, and I want to be quietly confident, but I am slightly worried at the lack of game time that he's had in the last few years. It's great to have Jan Oblak as your buddy in training, and obviously he's going to want to try his best to try and nick that spot off him. That's never going to happen because he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if not one of the best ever, because he is a very, very, very good goalkeeper. But the lack of game time does worry me. Does it worry you?
A bit. It
It's
does
a
worry me a
goalkeeper
bit.
at the end of the day, isn't it?
But he's a goalkeeper.
You can understand them coming in, coming out, coming in on as a sub, and that goalkeepers don't come on as a sub if the other goalkeeper's not playing too well, especially when it's Jan Oblak.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But I think it's not unusual to see a goalkeeper reach 26, 27, 28. They've been at a club like Atletico Madrid. They don't play games of football. You know, we talk about lots of people who we talk about. Let's look at the Premier League, like Kelleher. He will have played a comparative amount of games to what GRBIČ has played. And people would say that he'd be a fantastic signing, for example. You'd look at him and you'd go, yeah, he's ready to step in. He's just unlucky that he's behind Alisson. Going somewhere else, he'd be great. And I always see this as being a similar situation. You know, Real Madrid's backup goalkeeper, the comparison of sort of Kiko Casilla, is a very different role to, I think, Atletico Madrid. Because Atletico Madrid are a defensive team. they're a team, generally speaking, that want to invite pressure onto themselves because it's the way that Simeone has them playing. He tries to get them solid from a defensive base and then working forwards. Real Madrid are normally possession dominant. They're not taking themselves under pressure. They're not facing lots of shots. So Casilla could come in, step in, not really have much to do, have decent stats and look okay in their team. For GRBIĆ to step into an Atletico Madrid team, it's a slightly different format. I would expect him to be under a little bit of pressure a bit more. I would expect him to need to really work with experienced defenders to try and organize and keep himself in position. And so if he's getting positive reviews, I would see that as being a very different situation to getting one from a team like Real Madrid, just due to game style and the way that they'll be expected to take that pressure on themselves as they're going in. So there is a concern about his games played, but I am willing to overlook it for a goalkeeper at his age because I do think it's probably more common than we think.
Okay, that's fine. Let's leave it on that. No more negativity. But what I will say is if it does end up being sort of a Robin Olsen thing, I think that WES Foderingham is more than capable, if we do get relegated, of being our goalkeeper next season in the Championship. If something crazy happens, because he could do an Aaron Ramsdale and have an absolutely fantastic second half of the season at GRBIČ, and then somebody could come in and buy him for loads of money. Actually, that probably would be quite good because £2 million, if we get relegated and he has a fantastic season and someone comes in with 20 million, that times 10. That is a fantastic.
Then we go and get Victor. That'll be fine.
Yeah. But no, it's let's hope that this comes off and it's exactly as what we expect. I'll quickly go through the interview that he did earlier on if you've not seen it. The reason why he came to Sheffield United was to play Premier League football. I've put in brackets, if only for a few months. Hopefully, hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, he does want to play in the Premier League, and obviously he's going to have a lot to do at the back end of this season. So it's a big challenge, and he's ready for a new challenge, as he said in said interview. He also said that he was thinking about Sheffield United whilst he was on the bench for Atletico Madrid, which I thought was quite nice. And I wanted to quickly bring that up. He did say that the training ground is important to him, and the training ground is amazing, apparently. So currently, Stephen Bettis has got him writing that down as a testimonial, and he'll use it on his CV forevermore. And finally, he's the second Croat to play for the Blades after
Juranovic.
Filip Juranovic. And he didn't know that Filip Juranovic played for United. And he said, "Oh, I'm friends with Yuri," I think he called him.
Yeah, I suppose that should be short for Juranovic.
And that's exactly what I expect it to be. Anyway, let's move on. So I want to ask you now, Ollie, does he come straight into the team? We've touched on it a little bit. I'm not just talking about Brighton. I'm talking about Palace. Do you think he's starting against Palace?
Yes, I think he starts against Palace. I don't think he starts tomorrow. That's my prediction for where I think he's going to land. I think he will be our first choice goalkeeper in the league for the rest of the season. I expect, to be honest, if we do manage to get through in the cup tomorrow, he will be our first choice goalkeeper in the cup as well, because obviously we're getting towards that stage where we'll be looking at quarterfinals, semi-finals, if we manage to win that. So yes, I'm saying he's our number one goalkeeper from Tuesday onwards for the rest of the season at the minimum, but I don't think he plays tomorrow.
Fair enough, mate. And where does that leave Adam Davis?
Sorry, Adam.
Does he go on loan? We have spoken about this before.
I think he leaves. I don't think he goes on loan. I don't see the point. I think he's another one who's out of contract in the summer. I think for me, just find him a new club. I don't think his time at Sheffield United will be something he looks back on and thinks, oh, that was a roaring success. I think when he's come into the squad, he had moments where he made brilliant saves, the penalty against Norwich. He had moments where he made horrific mistakes when he kicked it against Pukki and it bounced in against Norwich. And so it's that kind of thing where I think Davis has never really properly convinced at United. I don't think he's settled. So he might go out on loan. I personally would suggest that the better option would be to try and find a free transfer to get his wages permanently off the books and for him to just be able to move on and really sort of kickstart his career somewhere else, because he's been second choice for a long time now between United and Stoke before that. that, yeah, I think he'll be looking for a move. I think he needs to get one for him and for his own career. And so, yeah, don't stand in his way. We can't fit him into a squad anymore anyway. We don't want 4 goalkeepers. So, yeah, try and move him on as quick as we can, preferably permanent. But if it has to be a loan, then he's up in summer anyway.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I don't think he's definitely not signing another contract. I don't think he would, and I don't think we want him to anyway.
No,
we
okay
definitely won't want him to. Two goalkeepers I want to talk about. Obviously, going to keep on talking about Adam Davis for a minute, and also Wes Foderingham. Where do you see Wes's level at, and where do you see Adam Davis's level at if they were going to leave right now, for instance?
If they're leaving Sheffield United, I think Wes should be looking at a sort of top championship team. I think he'll probably want to look at around the playoff chasers. I think those teams who are going to be promoted, let's say Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, Leeds, they're not going to want to look at a goalkeeper for 6 months and then be actually, there's a reason Sheffield United are trying to upgrade. So I don't think he's at that level. I don't think he's at elite championship level, but I do think he's a contender at championship level. I think he'd do well in those teams that are chasing those 5th and 6th spots in the playoffs. I think that's his level. And I think being the number 1 in a championship team would probably be the best for him for the rest of his career. I think that's what I see him doing now. He'll find a new club and he'll just be a consistent, permanent number 1 in the championship. Adam Davis needs games. I couldn't tell you his level. His level when he's played for United has been rubbish. So let's try and get him a club. I think League One probably makes the most sense just to build up his confidence again, just to get him moving again, and just to really give him the opportunity. You know, you want to throw names out there. You want to throw clubs out there. He's Welsh. Would Wrexham want a new goalkeeper? No idea. Don't know who plays for him. But it's that kind of thing where you think League Two, League One, him getting game time consistently as a number 1 is where he wants to be. And I just threw out a Welsh team because, you know, Welsh keeper.
Our mate plays for him.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Mark
he's getting on a
Howard.
bit, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely not their number 1 choice.
I didn't know if he was still number 1. Like, I genuinely don't know, but it feels like that kind of move is the one that makes sense for Adam Davis.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If they forgot about him, obviously kicking him out at FA Cup with that penalty save. That was his best moment at United, weren't it? What a guy. Forgot about that moment.
What a guy. He saved a few penalties, actually.
Yeah, Norwich, Rex. Yeah, he did all right. He's done fine. He's had mistakes. He's done fine. He's just not at the level to ever inspire confidence. Everything other than penalties, he's been rubbish at.
Yeah, true. Andrew Brindley, thank you very much. Everybody, stick a thumbs on this before you leave. We're not going to be on too much longer. Just for the final thing I want to say on this is Chris Wilder had a few words to say today and talking about trying to tie down a goalkeeper to a long-term deal. A lot of people are speculating that that's Wes and we are trying to tie him down as the second string goalkeeper. Do you think that is something that Wes would consider if that is the case?
No, I don't think it's. If I was Wes, I wouldn't want to commit to that. I don't think that feels like a sensible move for him. He was number 2 at Rangers. He spent a long time being their backup goalkeeper, got the move to United as a number 2, but really worked hard and earned his way to a number 1 spot to the point where he started for 21 games in the Premier League as a Premier League team's number 1 goalkeeper. Surely he doesn't want to now just drop back into the background, be the number 2 behind GRBIĆ, and then whoever comes in to replace GRBIČ, whoever comes in to replace the man who, do you know what I mean? It feels like there will be a conveyor belt of keepers that are now ahead of Foderingham, and we won't ever really be going back to him as a permanent number 1. So if I was him, I would want him moving on. And I think for his career, he should want to move on to be the number 1 somewhere. But I wonder if in terms of a long-term contract for a goalkeeper, that could be somebody like Amissa, younger, high potential, longer connection to the club, shall we say, in terms of how we could see his development. He could be one who we start to mold into a number 1 goalkeeper. And so I would be more tempted to try and tie him down long term.
Yeah, the other goalkeeper that you've been interested in a lot in the past couple of years is Victor Johansson. I know everybody's been banging on about wanting to see him in a Blade shirt. Do you think that's dead in the water now? Do you think he'll go somewhere else?
Yes. I mean, in the summer, he's got a relegation release clause at Rotherham. I think that's fairly well known. I'm sure lots of clubs will be in for him when Rotherham go down. If there's a goalkeeper we could offer them in exchange, an Adam Davis, a Wes Foderingham, I'm sure that maybe there's more of a conversation to be had about whether or not we could make that work. But given we've just signed a goalkeeper, I imagine that to be dead in the water. I imagine he'll get a different move in the summer and that he won't be a Sheffield United player anytime soon. But maybe that's for the best. You know, it's a good deal on GRBIČ. It's relatively cheap. I think Johansson would have cost more. And I like the way that we've actually gone away. We've scouted. We've looked at an area of priority. We've clearly identified Spain as a target, shall we say, in terms of Brereton Diaz coming in, now GRBIČ coming in. It's nice to actually see that maybe we've expanded our scouting just a little bit.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because I think there are a lot of people saying that Chris Wilder only likes to sign British players, only likes to sign players from the English league. So yeah, this is proof in the pudding that he's fine to have a foreign goalkeeper between the sticks. I'm just thinking, have we ever had a really, really good foreign goalkeeper, as in outside of Ireland? I don't think we have.
Have we ever had a number one from?
Yeah, Robin
number
Olsen for
one?
a few games.
He was number one for about 10 games. That don't count.
No, I can't think of
What was
anyone.
his name who got sent off in West? Who came on for Simon Tracy at West Brom one? Oh, he were rubbish.
Wilco Devote.
Wilco Devote. He were rubbish.
He was
weren't he?
never
Yeah.
number one.
No, he weren't, but he were foreign.
He was foreign. He was. We've also had
I
like
don't think we
Justin
have.
Haber.
I can't think of anybody. I think this is our first proper that I would expect to be a long-term number one. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works.
Let's hope so. And do you know what? I absolutely love the fact that, I know we're going back to it, but I love the fact that he is a massive, massive goalkeeper, because that's something that we really, really have missed. And I can't remember the last time we had such a big goalkeeper. Well, even Paddy Kenny, who's a Blades legend, he wasn't huge. We've not had a lot of huge goalkeepers. Alan Kelly wasn't huge. None of them really that huge. So I want to see a big, huge bloke between the sticks, saving lots of shots, and hopefully the Blades will stay up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'll have what you're having. That sounds all right for me. If we're allowed to just say what we want, you know, I'd love to win every game from now till the end of the season. Clean sheets all round. GRBIČ smashing it out the park. I think, yeah, it's on. It's on, Nick.
We don't even smashing it out of the park. We're playing out from the back these days, Ollie.
Nice. Well played.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much for everyone joining us. Thank you, Ollie, for joining me too. Let's hope that we get to see a fantastic, fantastic Croatian goalkeeper. And yeah, at least he shows himself to be worthy of playing for the Blades. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.